We just wanted to mess around in the storage room, but the way he looked at me that day changed everything. You ever have one of those moments when time doesn't just slow down, it stops? Yeah. That happened. Right after Jason threw the dodgeball square into Principal Denver's ass. We were both 15, high on stolen soda and teenage idiocy, laughing too hard in the storage room behind the gym, a place none of the teachers checked unless something caught fire. That place was sacred: broken bats, moldy jerseys, ancient trophies. And now, me and Jason. Sweating. Breathing hard. Cornered in more ways than one. "Shit, we're dead," I hissed, peeking out the cracked door, my heart jackhammering in my chest. Jason just grinned, wiping sweat from his brow with his shirt, exposing a slice of stomach that made me feel strange. Not that I'd admit that. Not to him. Not to anyone. "Relax," Jason said, "they don't check back here unless someone dies. And we're not dead yet, are we?" But I was already dying of nerves, of heat, of the way he was looking at me now. Not like a friend. Not like a joke. But like he saw something. Like he knew. And for the first time in my life, I didn't look away. We met in 8th grade. He had a black eye and no backpack. I had braces and a folder covered in Sharpie doodles and panic attacks. He made fun of my hoodie. I told him his breath smelled like Axe and bad decisions. By sophomore year, we were inseparable. Jason was chaos with legs. He smoked behind the band room, dared teachers to suspend him, and once mooned a cop during the homecoming parade. I was his polar opposite, rule follower, straight-A perfectionist, the kind of kid who corrected grammar on Instagram. But somehow, we just fit. He made me brave. I made him careful. Until that day in the storage room. "Why do you always look like you're about to bolt?" he asked, his voice dropping from cocky to curious. I shrugged, pretending to fiddle with my phone. "I'm not." "You flinch when I get close." "No, I don't." "You're flinching now." I wasn't. Not exactly. But the air felt too tight in my lungs. I could smell him sweat, cheap detergent, and spearmint gum. His eyes were fixed on me, a little too intense. The laughter was gone. The moment was bending. I started. He moved closer. I stepped back. There was nowhere left to go. "I'm not like you," I whispered. Jason blinked. "What the hell does that mean?" "I'm not. I don't do this. Whatever this is." He paused. "And what if I do?" My stomach dropped. He leaned in. Closer. Closer. His breath was warm on my face. I could see the small scar under his lip, the one from that bike accident in 7th grade. I remembered how he bled, how I cried, how he told me I was the only person who ever cared. Then his fingers brushed mine. Just a touch. Not a kiss. Not a confession. Just contact. My hands shook. My brain screamed. But my heart, traitorous, desperate, stayed quiet. He pulled back. "I was just kidding," Jason said, forcing a laugh. "Dude, relax. You think you're that hot?" I forced a laugh too. But the way he looked at me after that wasn't a joke. Monday came with its usual hell: lockers slamming, girls screaming over nothing, football guys being loud and proud and way too straight for their own good. Jason ignored me all first period. Second period, I tried passing him a note. He didn't read it. At lunch, he sat with Brianna Bloom, the girl who once threw up glitter at prom. I watched him laugh too hard at her dumb jokes. I watched her touch his arm like he was hers. I watched, and hated myself for watching. After school, I cornered him by the vending machines. "You're avoiding me." "Nope. Jason. He sighed. Look, man. I was just messing around, alright? That's what we do. We mess around. You weren't just messing around. He looked away. You looked at me like. Stop, he snapped. Don't make this a thing. It is a thing. No. It's not. You're just confused. No, I'm scared. And you are too. That hit something. His jaw tightened. I stepped closer, testing fate. You looked at me like you wanted to kiss me. He shoved a quarter in the vending machine. Well, I didn't. Liar. Silence. Then, barely above a whisper, you don't get to call me that. Why not? Because if you're right, it ruins everything. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about what it would mean to lose him, to kiss him, to love him. I'd never kissed anyone before. I'd never told anyone I liked boys. Not my mom. Not my best friend. Not even myself. And yet there he was. Jason. My maybe. My almost. My terrifying, beautiful what if. 2 weeks passed. We pretended nothing happened. Then one Friday after gym class, he threw a towel at me, smirking like old times. You ever wonder what would happen if we told someone, he said. Told them what? He shrugged. That we were gay. Or bi. Or whatever the hell this is. My mouth went dry. You mean? Like together? Maybe. Just. What if? I stared at him. They'd hate us. He nodded. Yeah. Probably. But maybe someone wouldn't. He looked at me. Really looked. And this time, when he stepped close, I didn't move back. He reached for my hand. And I let him. The first time he held my hand, it was in a hallway no one walked. The janitor had long gone home. The windows reflected the kind of sunset that hurt your chest, the kind that made you feel like something was ending even when you didn't know what. Jason didn't say anything. He just laced his fingers into mine like it was normal. It wasn't. But it was everything. The silence between us wasn't awkward. It was heavy. Weighted. Like neither of us knew what to say, so we just didn't. But somehow, that felt more honest than anything we ever said out loud. We didn't kiss. We didn't talk about what we were. We just walked down that hallway, hand in hand, like we were boys in another world. One where lockers weren't war zones and PE class didn't mean hiding your eyes in the locker room. One where we weren't terrified of what people would do if they found out. But we weren't in that world. We were in Ohio. By Monday, everything cracked. I knew something was wrong the second I saw Jason in the cafeteria. He wasn't looking at me. Not like before. He was staring straight at Chris Foley the quarterback and laughing a little too loud. Brianna was on his arm again. Same high-pitched voice. Same glittered eyelids. I dropped my tray. He didn't even flinch. I don't get it, I muttered to myself as I sat in the library that afternoon, trying to focus on some AP history reading I was already 5 chapters behind in. You okay? Kayla asked, nudging her chair closer. She was the closest thing I had to a real friend, outside of Jason. She wore oversized cardigans and combat boots, dyed her hair seaweed green last week, and claimed she only dated people who'd read Sylvia Plath voluntarily. Yeah, I lied. She squinted at me. You look like someone killed your dog. I laughed hollowly. I don't even have a dog. She leaned forward. Is it about Jason? My heart skipped. What? Why would you? Please, she said, folding her arms. You two have been playing that not-so-straight Romeo and Juliet thing since 9th grade. I blinked. You knew. Dude. Everyone knows. Or suspects. Or whispers. But most people don't care. They're too busy worrying if their Snapchats make their butts look big. I swallowed hard. Then why does he care? She looked sad for a second. Because he's scared. Same as you. That night, I texted him. Me, can we talk? Jason, busy. Me, please. Jason, dude, just leave it. Me, you kissed my hand. Jason, that was a mistake. Me, so was trusting you. He didn't answer after that. And I hated myself for hurting. I hated myself for hoping. I hated how much space he took up in my brain. I hated that I wanted him to fight for me. To say you matter more than what people think. But he didn't. 3 days passed. Then 5. I deleted our texts. But not the pictures. I had one grainy and off-center of him in the gym storage room, tossing a deflated basketball in the air, grinning like an idiot. I must have taken it right before everything changed. I stared at that photo like it could rewind time. Things got worse before they got better. Someone tagged my locker with the word FAG in red marker. Bright. Sloppy. Like a scream. No one said anything. Not the teachers. Not the other students. Except Kayla. She stood next to me for a long time, just staring at the word. Then she pulled a Sharpie out of her bag and crossed it out. People suck, she muttered. But I didn't cry. Not then. That night, though, I broke. Quietly. In the shower. Where no one could hear. The next week, Jason got into a fight. Chris Foley said something. I don't know what. Something loud. Something cruel. Maybe something true. Jason punched him. Twice. Got suspended for 3 days. Didn't speak to anyone. Not even Brianna. On the 4th day, he was waiting for me outside school. Leaning against the brick wall in a hoodie too big for him. Eyes dark. Expression unreadable. Hey, he said. I didn't answer. Wanna go somewhere? I should have said no. I should have told him to leave me alone. But I followed him. Because I always did. We ended up at the old train tracks, the place we used to hang out back before everything got complicated. He didn't speak for a long time. Just skipped rocks across the dried-out creek bed. I sat beside him, knees drawn to my chest, heart doing backflips. Then finally, softly. I'm sorry. I didn't breathe. For all of it, he said. For pretending. For not choosing you. For acting like none of it mattered when it did. It still does. My voice cracked. Then why'd you push me away? Because I'm a coward. I looked at him. His eyes weren't angry or smug or hiding behind jokes anymore. They were raw. I thought if I kissed you, I'd lose everything, he said. Football. My dad. People not looking at me like I'm broken. You didn't kiss me. He smiled sadly. Yeah. I should've. The wind rustled through the trees. Somewhere, a train rumbled in the distance. But the world felt still. I missed you, I whispered. I never stopped missing you, he replied. Then he reached for my hand again. And this time, I didn't hesitate. By March, we were careful. We didn't say we were boyfriends. Not out loud. But we sat next to each other in class. Walked home together. Laughed like the world wasn't watching. We had a system. No hand-holding in public. No long looks in the locker room. No sleeping over, not yet. But when we were alone, it was different. He let me trace the scar under his lip. He told me he hated his laugh but loved when I made him do it. He admitted he once cried during a Pixar movie and almost failed biology because he was too distracted by how I twirled my pencil during tests. "You're such a sap," I teased. "Yeah, but I'm your sap." Of course, it didn't last. Secrets never do. The day it all blew up started with a whisper. Someone saw us. Someone said something. By lunchtime, half the school knew. By last period, phones were buzzing with screenshots, fake texts, memes, our names next to rainbow emojis and slurs and fire emojis and God knows what else. Jason found me in the bathroom, shaking. "They know," I said. He nodded. "I know. What do we do?" His face hardened. "We stop hiding." He pulled me out into the hallway. People stared. Laughed. Whispered. Then he kissed me. Right there. Under the broken light fixture near the gym. In front of everyone. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Then I kissed him back. And the silence after that was louder than any scream. The thing about kissing someone in public, especially when you're two teenage boys in small-town America, is that people either pretend it didn't happen or they make sure you'll never forget it did. We didn't say anything afterward. Jason just grabbed my hand again, tighter this time. His thumb brushed the edge of my wrist. I remember wondering if he could feel my pulse racing. We walked out the school doors together, past the football team, past the group of girls who used to flirt with him, past the teachers pretending they couldn't see. No one said a word to us. Not then. But the next day. That was different. They called me a slur under their breath during English class. Someone left a condom wrapper in my locker, with a note that said, "Have fun, princess." During gym, someone tripped me on purpose. I hit the floor so hard my elbow bled through my shirt. Jason wasn't in my class, and I was glad. I didn't want him to see me like that, humiliated, shaking, holding it all in with every inch of willpower I had. After school, I found him waiting at our usual spot. His eyes scanned my sleeve. "What happened?" "Nothing." He reached for me, and I flinched. Not from him, from the weight of everything. "You're bleeding." I said, "It's fine." "It's not fine," he snapped. "They're not gonna stop." "Then why'd you kiss me like that? Why'd you make it real?" His face went blank for a second. Then he stepped back. "You think I regret it?" "I don't know what you regret." "I regret not doing it sooner." My breath caught. "I don't care what they say," he added. "I'm not pretending anymore. Not for them. Not for my dad. Not for some coach who'd bench me the second I look too soft." "Jason. I love you," he said. I blinked. The wind moved. Leaves scraped the sidewalk. The world went quiet again. "I love you," he repeated, softer. "That's what this is. That's what it's always been." It felt like someone cracked open my chest and poured light inside. "I think I've been in love with you since you told me to shut up in 7th grade, I said. "And maybe even before that." He smiled, not his usual smug grin, but the real one. The one I only ever saw when it was just us. Then he pulled me into his arms, and I let go of the fear for a while. I let myself be held. I let myself believe it was going to be okay. Even if it wasn't. Not yet. But someday. Maybe. We got called into the principal's office the next morning. She didn't say we were in trouble. Not exactly. But she did that thing adults do when they're trying to sound supportive but are secretly hoping you'll disappear. "I just want to make sure you both feel safe," she said, adjusting her glasses. "We don't," I said. Jason crossed his arms. You gonna do something about it? She cleared her throat. I can speak to the students involved. They weren't students involved, Jason interrupted. It was half the freaking school. She blinked. I understand this is difficult. Jason leaned forward. No. You don't. I put a hand on his leg under the table. A warning. Or maybe just a reminder. He took a breath, steadied. What exactly are you going to do? I asked. We'll review our anti-bullying procedures, she replied. And perhaps consider sensitivity workshops. Jason laughed under his breath. Workshops. It felt hopeless. Like we were fighting a war with paper swords. Still, I said thank you. Still, we walked out of her office like something had changed. Because it had. We were visible now. And visibility doesn't come with safety, it comes with risk. At lunch, we sat together. People whispered. Some avoided eye contact. But Kayla sat with us. And then two other kids I barely knew, Anna from choir and Jordan from the robotics team, slid into our table without saying anything. Just sat with us. No questions. No pity. Just presence. And somehow, that mattered more than anything. Jason's dad found out 2 days later. I was at home when it happened. Jason called me. I picked up on the first ring. He saw the photo, Jason said. What photo? Someone posted it. The kiss. Silence. I could hear breathing on the other end. A door slammed. A muffled yell. Jason. I gotta go. He hung up. I didn't hear from him for 2 days. When he finally came back to school, his eye was bruised. Not badly. But enough. Enough for me to know. He didn't talk about it. He just sat next to me in math like everything was normal. I wanted to ask. I wanted to scream. But I didn't. I waited. He came to my window that night. Same as always. Hoodie pulled tight over his head. Eyes tired. Can I stay? He asked. I let him in. We didn't talk. We just lay on the floor in the dark, his head on my chest, my fingers in his hair. The silence between us wasn't empty, it was full. Of pain. Of love. Of everything we couldn't say. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely there. He said it's a phase. Your dad. He said I embarrassed him. Said he didn't raise a freak. My heart cracked. You're not a freak, I whispered. He didn't answer. I'm proud of you. His shoulders shook. I held him tighter. That night, he fell asleep with tears on his face and my name on his lips. We stayed quiet for a while after that. No public affection. No declarations. But everyone knew. We still got stares. Comments. But we also got nods. Quiet smiles. The librarian left a sticky note on my returned book that said, "Be brave. Love wins." It wasn't much. But it was something. A month later, during senior assembly, we stood in the back of the auditorium. The principal gave a speech about unity. Jason rolled his eyes. Then, out of nowhere, he reached for my hand. I hesitated. Then took it. People turned. A few whispered. But no one said anything. We stood like that for the rest of the speech. And when it was over, I kissed him on the cheek. Small. Soft. But enough. Enough to say, I'm here. I'm yours. I'm not hiding. He smiled like the sun was inside him. That was the day I stopped caring what they thought. Because we weren't just messing around anymore. We were becoming something real. The final weeks of senior year passed like a slow song, too long in the wrong places, too short where it mattered. Jason and I walked through it like shadows with hearts. People had stopped being shocked. Some just shrugged. A few still sneered. But most, they just moved on. We weren't a novelty anymore. We were just two boys who sat together at lunch, walked home together, laughed too loud, fought sometimes, and forgave more often than not. Prom came faster than I expected. Kayla asked me if we were going. I don't know, I said. You should. Jason wasn't the kind of guy who liked suits or glitter or dancing in public. But when I asked him, half expecting a groan or a joke, he surprised me. I've never worn a tux before, he said. But I'd wear one for you. And he did. We showed up late, as planned, walking in just as the slow song started. Heads turned. I expected laughter, maybe a gasp, maybe silence. But instead applause. Not a lot. Not loud. But a few kids clapped. One girl whistled. Kayla gave us a double thumbs up and mouthed, "Told you." We danced. Badly. Jason stepped on my foot twice. I tripped over his jacket once. But none of it mattered. Because in that moment, we were weightless. We were the song. We were the story people would tell, the kind that ends with maybe and maybe not, but never with regret. When the last slow song started, Jason leaned in close and whispered into my ear. I wish I could take you back to that storage room and do it all again. Why? Because this time, I wouldn't pretend. I looked up at him, my heart full, my world still. You didn't. He kissed me gently, firmly, like he meant it, like he meant me, and I knew he never had. Graduation day hit like a wave. Caps. Gowns. Sunglasses. Sweaty families shouting names. Teachers blinking back tears. Jason and I didn't sit together. They split us by last names. But when I stepped onto the stage and heard my name echo through the auditorium, I spotted him in the crowd, grinning. 2 fingers to his temple, mock salute. It meant, I see you. I got you. Always. And when he crossed the stage a few minutes later, I stood in the aisle and clapped until my hands hurt. That summer was one of those golden, stretched-out miracles. We stayed up till 3 most nights, lying on his roof, watching stars, talking about who we were going to be. He said he wanted to fix cars. I said I wanted to write books about people like us. Not tragic. Not forgotten. Just honest. Some nights, we drove around aimlessly, windows down, music too loud, our hands brushing between gear shifts. Other nights, we didn't say much, we didn't need to. We kissed in parking lots. We held hands at gas stations. We dared the world to look and kept walking when it did. But August came. And with it goodbyes. I was leaving for college in New York. He wasn't. I'm proud of you, he said, hugging me tighter than ever before. You could come, I whispered. You could still apply. Or visit. Or. He shook his head. This is your dream. Not mine. I nodded. Tried not to cry. Don't forget me, he said. I smiled through the ache. I couldn't if I tried. He leaned in. Kissed me hard. Then pulled back and said the words that made everything hurt and heal all at once. I'll wait for you. New York was a storm I didn't know how to stand in. Fast, loud, alive in every way Ohio never was. I got lost. I found myself. I cried in bathrooms. I made friends. I found a little LGBTQ club on campus and started showing up every Thursday, heart pounding but open. I wrote about him. About the kiss. The hallway. The storage room. My professor read it and said, "This feels like something real." It was. Jason called every Sunday. He didn't text much. Said his thumbs were too dumb for long messages. But every Sunday, without fail, his name lit up on my screen. He told me about the garage he was working at. The old man who cussed like a sailor but made the best grilled cheese sandwiches he'd ever had. The fact that he'd started sketching again cars, mostly, sometimes faces. "I drew you last week," he said once. "Oh. Yeah. You were scowling at a textbook." I laughed. "Sounds about right. Miss you. Miss you more." One day, around mid-November, he didn't call. I stared at the phone for hours. Checked for texts. Checked again. Nothing. I went to class. Tried to focus. Failed. That night, just past midnight, my phone buzzed. "Jason, sorry. Had a rough day. Missed you. Still here." "Me, don't scare me like that again." "Jason, never." "Me, I love you." "Jason, I love you too." Christmas break, I flew home. He was waiting at the airport in that same oversized hoodie. He looked the same. But older. He kissed me right there in the middle of baggage claim. Didn't care who watched. "I hate how much I missed your face," he said. We spent the whole break wrapped around each other like the world might rip us apart if we let go. And when I left again, he kissed me like it was the first time. And the last. And every time in between. Years passed. We made it work. Not always perfectly. Not without fights or nights of silence. But we made it. He moved to New York eventually. Got a job fixing vintage motorcycles. I got a book deal. Our apartment was small, loud, drafty. But it was ours. And sometimes, when the sun hit the window just right and the coffee was still hot and his hand found mine without looking, I thought about that old storage room. And how we were just messing around. But the way he looked at me, it changed everything. It still does. The end. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.